Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard. I went from being a lawyer and partner at one of the largest firms in America to becoming an online personality and successful entrepreneur. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your health and personal life. So how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you chase joy while achieving success? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Welcome back to Hustle and Flow. I am your host, Heather Hubbard, and today I am joined by a very special guest. Today we have Lacy Boggs. She is the creator of Thought Leader Lab, helping entrepreneurs turn their expertise into powerful content that attracts clients. With over a decade of marketing experience, Lacy developed the Thought Leader Lab framework to help small business owners like you and me stand out, build authority, and grow profitable, sustainable businesses. Welcome to the show, Lacy.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So I always like to ask people how they started their entrepreneurial journey, because most people that I work with and who come on here, like that's not what they started out to do. I have no idea what your story is, but I'm curious how you became an entrepreneur.
Oh goodness, it was a long and winding road, that's for sure. To try to make a very long story short, I actually went to film school a lifetime and a half ago. I was going to be the next Sofia Coppola, but that didn't work out. And so I went back to my first love, which was writing. And I worked for a PR company in LA, and then we came to Colorado, and I got a job with some travel guide magazines, and then I was working for this other magazine as a food writer. This was around 2010, 2011. And I love doing the food writing thing, but working for this teeny tiny hyper local magazine, I was working like 65 hours a week. I was there till 3 a.m. on deadlines because there was just like four of us. You know what I mean? We were doing it all ourselves. And then I got pregnant and I was like, wow, can't do that with an infant. Like that's going to suck. And also here in Colorado, especially the childcare is very expensive. And so it was going to be more than half my salary to not see my kid. And so my husband and I decided that I would quit that job and stay home with the baby. But I'm also like one of those people who's never still sometimes. And so I started freelancing. And I spent a year doing that. And my husband came to me and was like, hey, love that you're staying home with the baby, but I need you to make a little more money. Because I lovingly call that my 4-figure year. And I said, no problem. I have a new idea. I'm really good at this blogging thing. Maybe other people would pay me to blog. And it turned out they would. And so that was where my marketing business really started and got off the ground. And I thought at first I was just going to be a writer, a ghost blogger is what I called myself. And as my business grew and as I got more clients, it turned out they wanted a lot more from me. They wanted strategy. They wanted to know, how do you do this? What should I be talking about? Where should I be posting it? All these things. And so I invested a lot of time and money in learning more about content marketing. I developed a lot of really strong opinions about it. And that's when I started selling strategy and built my content agency and so on and so forth.
So tell everyone, when we're talking about, I think a lot of times we use the word thought leadership, but we might have different definitions as to what that means. What does thought leadership mean to you?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because a lot of people have some people love it and some people have a negative connotation with thought leadership. So I believe a thought leader is anyone who has ideas and thoughts about how they want to change an industry or support a group of people, and then they get out there and share those ideas in order to lead that change, right? So some people think of thought leadership and they think of like bro marketers or guys, I'm saying guys, but it's gender neutral, who write a book and it's like one idea stretched out over 300 pages and then call themselves a thought leader. And that's fine, whatever, that's a thing. But I really think it's just anybody who has big ideas that are intended to help support or change an industry or a group of people. And that could be anybody.
Well, and I think because so many professionals listen to this podcast, especially women and those who are in typically marginalized groups, I really think that anytime you are practicing your profession, You are a thought leader because I guarantee you, you have a different perspective and
Hmm.
think things should be different than they are right now, even if you feel stuck in that industry.
100%. Your existence and your work in that industry is leadership. And when you start sharing your ideas, publishing them in some way, then you become a thought leader almost automatically because, as you say, like just being in that industry from a marginalized group of any kind, you are a leader.
That's right. That's right. So, where do you think is like the best place to actually share your thought leadership? Is it the stage, LinkedIn, social media, white papers? Do you have thoughts on that? Should people, from a strategic perspective, should they diversify and be all over the place? Pick one place?
So there's no one right answer to that, which is sad because if I had one right answer, like people would be like, "Oh, great, let's do that." But it's what's right for you and your audience, right? So what I mean by that is there are some people whose audience is never, ever, ever going to sit down and read a white paper. And there are other people whose audience is never, ever, ever going to sit and watch a YouTube video, right?
Mhm.
And so depending where your audience is will really give you a lot of information about where you should be publishing. But the other side of that equation is where you feel comfortable. So I'm a writer. I feel very comfortable writing articles, white papers, ebooks, whatever. But there are plenty of people who do not feel comfortable doing that. They're much more comfortable talking on a podcast like this, or
Yeah.
making a video, or speaking from the stage. So I think it's a little bit of an equation of where are your people, what do they want to consume, and then also how do you like to create content. And when we find that unique equation for you, that is the correct place to be doing it. But there's no wrong answer, which is kind of the nice part. Like you can do well with any of those that you mentioned.
I love the answer. That we all have options and we can
Yes.
lean into our strengths and what brings us joy. So, a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs hate the content marketing side of things because especially right with social media these days, and just the amount of content that's out there, it feels like you could just spend all of your time, like all day long, just trying to keep up with producing new content. So, where do you stand on that? Where do you think people should be focusing their time and energy when it comes to content marketing?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit of an outlier, a thought leader, if you will, when it comes to social media content, because I actually don't believe we have to live on the content hamster wheel. So, what I teach in Thought Leader Lab is to, once you get clarity around your ideas and your vision and how you want to communicate it and position yourself, to create a single piece of signature content. So, this is going to be a little bit longer form. It could be an essay, it could be a video, it could be a podcast, doesn't matter, a speech, could be any of those. But the idea being we create this one piece of a bit longer form content that lays it all out. It tells all the details about your thought leadership, plants your flag in the sand, and says, this is what I believe. Once you have that, all the social media content, all the stuff that feels relentless becomes 1,000 times easier because you already know what to say. You already have said it, really. And you can even use tools like AI to chop it up and turn it into a bazillion little pieces that then all link back to the big piece, right?
Mhm.
So I think what they really hate about social media and content marketing is not knowing what to share and what's going to be effective, right? Because if you knew for sure every time you made a Facebook post or an Instagram post or whatever that it was going to be the right thing to say, you probably wouldn't hate it, right?
Right. Yes.
So once we
Correct.
create that signature piece of content that informs everything else, once we get super clear on the positioning and the messaging that's based in our thought leadership, then the little things become a lot easier. They're also a lot easier to delegate. So like it's no longer, oh, I can't delegate this because I don't know what to tell the team member or the intern or whoever to post. It's like, no, go read this. This is what you say. You just say this over and over again in different ways.
So, the one signature piece, is this something that would be consumed by a prospective client, or it's really just to be the source of all the smaller things?
It could be either, but I really love the model where we publish it somewhere that people can consume it, because I think it becomes your 24/7 sales assistant right there. Because what it does is it kind of flips the traditional lead magnet idea on its head. So, what we've all been taught we need for a lead magnet is like, oh, give them a little tiny bite sized something that they can get a small win and be excited about. And they're going to give you their email address in exchange for it so that you can continue to nurture and market, right? This flips it on its head. I'm saying give them the whole main course. Forget the appetizer. We're going to give them the whole main course. And if they get through it and consume it and read the whole thing or listen or watch, they are bought in. There's very little additional nurturing you have to do at the other end. So then you have a call to action that's like, get on a call with me or fill out this form or whatever it is. But those people are way better qualified, more pre-sold on what you do and how you do it. So it's like, why are we trapping people in a funnel that nurtures them over a long period of time when they may just need to know all the information and then they're ready to say go, right? So we're giving them all the information they need to make a decision up front instead. And if they need more nurturing, hooray, great, we can do that. But if they're ready to buy, let's just let them do that.
Now, when you say give them the whole course, because I know some people will be listening and they're like, shit,
Uh-huh.
they're going to be saying, oh, so Lacy, so let's say they have a course, like a
Uh-huh.
literal course. They'll be like, oh, so Lacy's saying I just give them that course for free and then I'm selling them consulting on the back end. And I don't think that's what you meant,
No.
but I just want to clarify for those who are might
Yeah.
be confused.
I was doing a bit of a tortured metaphor there, saying like the old lead magnet style is like an appetizer, and I'm saying give them the
Yes.
main course, the food. But what? Yeah, that's a great question. I am saying in this signature piece of content, we're laying out the how, like the why and the how you do it, the framework, your big ideas, but we're not actually walking them through whatever it is step by step, right? It's there's not enough time or space to do that, even in an essay that takes 20 minutes to read or a video that takes 20 minutes to watch. You're still not going to be able to provide the same sort of support and learning that you would in a course that takes 6 months or in consulting that you do, right? So I've always, even with blog posts, I had people who were afraid of giving away the kitchen sink, right? I'm going to give away all my good stuff and then they're not going to want to buy from me. When what I have found to be true is the opposite. When you show them your expertise, when you say you do X, then Y, then Z, and you get this result, they can see it, they're much more likely to buy because they're
Mhm.
very clear on how you're going to help them. And the real secret here is they're very unlikely to be able to do it themselves. So even when we tell them, this is exactly how I walk you through my process or my framework or whatever it is, they're still very unlikely to be able to complete it on their own. I'm thinking about
Yeah.
your lawyers in your audience. Like they're a
Mhm.
great example of this. If they were to create a signature piece of thought leadership content, it might be like, oh, I'm just going to come up with something off, from my elbows here, but it like, this is how I walk you through a peaceful divorce. These are the steps we go through with you and your partner so that we can have a peaceful divorce and you guys can part friends. Those people are not going to be able to do that without your help, right? Even if you break down exactly what you do at every single stage, they're not going to be able to do that without your help. And the same is true with anything, with what I do, with what you do, Heather, like all of it. Even if
Yeah.
you tell them here's exactly the steps we're going to take, they can't really do it without your help.
I have only had one client where I told her, I think you're sharing too much. And it was
Mm-hmm.
because she was not doing consulting or coaching on the side. It was buy this program. And the lead magnet was in many ways the program workbook, just without the videos. And I was like, you're giving too much away
Sure,
because
sure,
they could do it on their own, basically,
sure,
at that point.
sure.
But yes. So for those of you who are like trying to figure out, am I giving away too much or not? That's really, to me, yes, always the question of could they do this on their own without you? And if the answer is probably, then you're giving away too much. But most people, like you, that would be a lot. That would be a
Yeah.
lot, especially if you're offering some kind of coaching or some kind of consulting. Lacey, what's your favorite, if you have one, what's your favorite way to package a CTA? Is it with the thought leadership piece or is it through a funnel? Is it through something else? How do you like And by CTA, for those of, so I know we get a lot of people. So first off, lead magnet. I'm
Oh,
going to let
yeah,
you quickly define a lead magnet, and then
sure.
I'm saying CTA if you'll. So that's a
Yeah,
call
yeah,
to action. So if the sales, from a sales call to action, I'm curious what your favorite way to introduce that is.
yeah. So lead magnet, first of all, is usually a free something that you're offering in exchange for an email address, so that you can continue to market to them. It's what we call permission marketing. So anything, it really could be anything. It could be a checklist, could be a video, a workbook, anything. But it's something you are offering. People also call it an ethical bribe or an opt-in sometimes. So those are all different terms for that. CTAs, do I have a favorite? That's a good question. I mean, right now, my favorite is to package it with the thought leadership because I think it's such an interesting and different way to do it. And it's something that people haven't tried. I think a lot of times what happens in marketing is that things get popular and there's a wave of wow, this is really working, and more, so more and more people try it, and then the efficacy goes down, right?
Yeah.
um, Imagine a bell curve, right? So
Hmm.
um, the thought leadership piece, giving all your framework and really laying it out there up front, is something that isn't done a whole lot at this point. I can think of several other teachers who teach something similar, but it's not super, super popular. And so that's really my favorite way to package it right now. I think it can work in lots and lots of different ways, though. So whatever is novel and exciting to your audience would be my favorite way because um, getting somebody excited is how you get them to say yes.
I have had more work over the years come from people who say they found my podcast and started binging it
Mm-hmm.
than any other thing, than any challenges sometimes I mean, but like if I'm doing a true launch around something, that generally has pretty good results. But in terms of what you're saying, in terms of just lead magnets or anything else, it tends to be they just start binging the podcast, which is exactly what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like
Yeah.
they're spending time. They want to build a relationship. And when I think of my own purchasing behaviors, when I think of what I have actually signed up for in the last year, you're right. If I was learning of someone for the first time, it actually took a lot of touches and for me to really get to know them before I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree that you can just kind of speed that up.
I think at this point in our internet marketing world, buy-in is more valuable than an opt-in.
Mm,
So if we can truly get somebody's buy-in that they believe in us, in our framework, in our methodology, whatever it is, in our thought leadership, that is more valuable than an email address just for some little bitty freebie that we don't need, right? Because here's my thought on that. I see these ads on Facebook. You probably get them too. And it's like, download this thing for free. And sometimes I'm excited about it or whatever. Here's a great example. I saw this one where this lady was doing, she had built a Google Sheet that was a goal tracker. And it was really cute because it had the, like, as you checked off your goals, it would grow a little flower. And she was offering it as a free download that you could resell it as a free, what is it, a PLR, right? Like, so
yeah.
you had the rights to resell it, you could change the colors or whatever. I wanted it personally, so I opted in and downloaded this goal tracker with the cute little flower. I have no intention of reselling it in my business, and so she paid money for my clicks and
Right.
my email address and my download, but I'm probably never going to pay her money. You see what I'm saying? She
Hmm.
paid for that ad to get my email address, but I'm probably never going to pay her money. Sorry.
Hmm.
Sorry, friend. But I think on the other hand, like if you get the buy-in first, that's way more valuable than just paying the whatever, however much she paid for my click on a Facebook ad. It's not that you can't do
And then
ads too, but like combine it with it.
And there will always be people, always, there will always be people who are going to bootstrap it and figure it out on their own.
Totally.
There is nothing that you are going to do or not do that was going to convert them into a client anyway. And I think a lot of people get caught up in that when they're like, oh, I'm giving too much away. They then won't hire me. It's like that person wasn't going to hire you anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I think too, a lot of times people get caught up in the perfectionism of the funnel. So they
Mm,
think I can't launch this lead magnet because I don't have the nurture funnel set up yet, or I don't know how to do the technology, or I'm not sure exactly what emails to send to get them to buy my thing. First of all, you're never going to know exactly until you test it. So you might as well just do it wrong, badly the first time, imperfectly, and keep changing, keep improving. But I
mm-hmm.
also think starting with the thought leadership, starting with the longer form piece of content, that signature content, relieves so much of that pressure because you've already said everything you need to say. And now you
Yeah.
can just follow up and be like, hey, were you still interested in this?
Yeah.
Did you want some more support?
What is your least favorite content marketing or just marketing in general? Like your least favorite trend, whether
Mm.
it's happening now or was in the past.
I really don't like high pressure funnels where they have 47 upsells. I realize that it works. Like if it didn't work, people wouldn't do it, right? But and when I'm buying, okay, there is a makeup brand that I love. I'm not going to name names. And I go buy their CC cream. And then I have to go through literally 4 or 5 upsell pages where they're trying to sell me the mascara and the moisturizer and the whatever. And I'm like, I don't want that. I just want to buy the one thing that I want to buy. And I think that has gotten incredibly annoying. Like if you do one or maybe two, that's fine. But like when there's like seven, like, come on, folks. I imagine that there are people who just drop out at some point because they get annoyed when you have too
So, what
many
do you think
upsells.
that's about? I assume it's because we keep hearing, and it's true, that people can't pay attention, right? That the world is going so fast. And they're like, let me just give them one little thing at a time, right? And then, like,
Mm-hmm,
while I've got them, they might want to do it,
mm-hmm.
which, of course, is going against the concept of a larger thought
Yeah.
leader piece. I know my thoughts around it, but I'm pretty sure you've got some strong opinions too. So I'm curious what you think about that. Of they're saying, well, people can't pay attention, so you've just got to do all these like, just the
Mm-hmm.
song and dance and go real fast.
I think way too much emphasis has been put on our quote unquote attention spans because when we actually look at the data, people are willing to consume. It's like you just told me, people are willing to binge your podcast. How many hours do they spend with you before they send you that
Right.
email that says, hey, I'm ready to work with you? I mean, we're talking hours, right?
Right. Mhm.
People are very willing to engage with content that engages them. So when somebody tells me, "Oh, you have to grab them in 3 seconds or whatever," nobody we all have the attention span of a goldfish. That tells me that actually your messaging is not that compelling. Um, so because the data shows us that people are willing to engage with content they find engaging. So I think these weird little there was this trend for a while that we would sell something for $7 or $9 or whatever. And then these order bumps would make it worth it. Right. So a lot
Yeah.
of this was learned through these ad funnels where it was like you sell something for $7 and that pays for the ad. And then you do the order bump on the back end, which is actually your profit. I think that's fine, maybe for widgets. But for those of us who have a more service based coaching or even courses type of business, if you're selling the $7 product, you're getting the $7 clients. And what I mean by that is the people who are interested in buying the $7 solution are less likely to be interested in buying the much higher ticket, more in depth, requires more work and effort solution. So to me, it's better just to like filter those people out at the beginning. If I know that I know my thought leader lab is not for everybody, and that's okay, right? I want the people who are so invested in their own message that they're ready to do the work, that they're so invested in the change they want to see in the world that they're willing to come and do the work. And so selling a $7 product with a bunch of upsells doesn't actually make sense to me because I'm not looking for the $7 customer.
And I think that for most entrepreneurs that are doing some type of consulting or coaching, there is no worse feeling in the world than someone who pays you but doesn't show up and get results.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Service-based
we
entrepreneurs,
want you to get results.
yeah, like we're not in this business for money alone.
Right.
we moved into this business because I think most of us who are service-based entrepreneurs, we love the relationships and we love the results. And when that's not happening, it's really deflating and defeating. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I have to adjust my attitude because it can actually make me not serve my best clients well because I'm focused on the draining clients. And so when you I've had to put a lot of time and effort towards trying to only attract those people who are going to perform at the highest levels and show up at the highest levels because it even impacts the way I show up. Like everyone gets a better experience when we're all really wanting to go all in.
I agree. And I think that's part of your, to go back to like marketing 101 here, that's part of our positioning where we decide who we want to work with and how we want to be thought of in the marketplace. And when your positioning is rooted in your thought leadership, it becomes that much easier to distinguish yourself and to find those clients that you really, really want to work with.
For people who are like, I'm just too busy to focus on any marketing. Like I just want to outsource that without being involved at all. Thoughts?
Good luck. Um, I say that a little tongue in cheek. Having been, so, I had a full service content marketing agency up until about a year and a half ago. We were not able to do our best work for the clients who just wanted to be completely hands off. And that's just the way of the world. There's only so much, we're not psychic. And so there's only so much we can do. However, there are ways you can make that work. So, for example, if you're busy because you've already done all this work creating content somewhere, that could be in a course, that could be in like coaching call recordings from previous things, anything like if it exists and you can give it to your marketing team, that is a shortcut. That's a great way to do it. And a good, solid marketing team can take that and turn it into really great, attractive marketing for you. Um, if you've written a book, if you have keynotes, any kind of content that you can give to someone else, that's great. But if you want them to start from scratch and just be psychic and intuit it, that's not going to work great because it's not going to feel like you and you're not going to be happy with it.
Yeah, I feel like, especially with experts, if you are an expert based business, if you are not putting the expertise into the marketing, it's going to fall flat. It's not going to convert. And then you're going to say, I hate marketing because it feels like a crapshoot, but it's probably a crapshoot because you're following trends or hiring it out without giving them full access to your expertise in a way that you can show it and leverage it.
Yeah. And there are
Um,
ways around it. Like we used to, a lot of our clients, we would interview them. So if you could give us an hour a month, we could take and turn that into amazing content, right?
yeah.
But you're never going to be able to do it and just be like, I want to be completely hands off and have nothing because there's just nothing to start from there, right? We would just be making things up. I think that's also where people get with AI. They think they can just plug it in and be like, okay, write me 47 Facebook posts about this, and it will,
Yeah.
and they won't be great.
No, there's no thought
So
leadership there.
no, there's no thought leadership there. So you really get out what you put in some instances here.
All right. So, what are you most excited about for 2025?
So I have just opened the doors to Thought Leader Labs 3.0, and you might be able to tell by the name, this is the third iteration of this program. And I'm just very, very excited about getting some folks in and seeing their results because like you were just saying a few minutes ago, like I really get my jollies when my clients get great results.
Yep.
So I get really excited with the people we are attracting because their thought leadership is going to change the world, and I am just thrilled to be able to support them in getting it out there, really articulating it. One lady came to me and she said, I have 5 metaphors to describe what I do. And I just need clarity and to get it really, I was like, we can do that. We can get that because what she does is so amazing. It needs to be out in the world. It needs
Yes.
her vision needs to be part of the conversation. And so if I can help her get that clarity, that is what I'm big excited about this year.
So, for those who are interested in learning more about Thought Leader Lab 3.0. Will you share a little bit about how it works and where they can come to find more information?
Yeah. So it is, you get unlimited access to all the tools and resources and content when you join, and you get 6 months access to me and our group of amazing thought leaders to help you work through it and actually get stuff going. And so it's a great opportunity for folks, even if you don't feel like you have a lot of time, because the material is always there for you. So it's designed to be taken at your own pace. It's not a course in that like it drips out a new lesson every week. This is very much like dip in and out where you need to. But the goal being we get really clear on your positioning and how we're going to position you as a thought leader. We create incredibly compelling and crystal clear messaging so that you know exactly what to say. And then we create that signature piece of content that you can then turn into a bazillion other pieces of content. So we basically are creating the foundation for you to position yourself as a thought leader and get out there and create those opportunities that come with that. And so if you want more information, you can go to lacyboggs.com/TLL for Thought Leader Lab. And that gives you all the information. But you can also just, find me on the socials, send me an email, whatever. I'm happy to chat with anybody who has questions about it.
And we will put the links in all of the show notes as well, so you can grab them there. Lacy, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
My pleasure. It was really fun to chat.
Thank you so much for joining me for this week's podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, give the episode a like and leave a comment below so we can keep the conversation going. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future episode or announcement. Listening on Apple, Spotify, or another podcast app, you can watch the video and join in the after show conversation by visiting hustleandflowpodcast.com.